Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Circlemark Merkel. Here with the host today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say hi, guys.
If you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and let us know what you think.
Yep, we're on our way to 250 subscribers, so your subscription means a lot in helping us reach that goal. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So in this video, we'll be doing another ranking video, this time over the various pass-catching groups around the NFL for all 32 teams. We basically went through each roster, picked out 4 guys that we felt were kind of the primary targets for each team as far as, pass catching goes. So wide receivers and tight ends are both going to be included. Some teams will have 1, 2 tight ends even. Other teams won't have any tight ends. Just kind of depends on what receivers they had on the roster, what tight ends they had on the roster, and who we felt were kind of the top 4 guys for that specific team. We won't try to factor in whether or not, some of these groups may not have as good a quarterbacks as other groups. So we'll kind of make more determinations on our personal opinions on their skill sets, stuff like that. But unless you two got anything else, I think without further ado, we can go ahead and hop over to the Tiermaker. All right, so here we have our tier list. Starting on here, just like the quarterback one, we have our elite tier, the top tier. So this is where the groups we feel like are the best in the NFL as far as pass catching ability goes. We'll go right up here. Second tier, we've got on the cusp of being elite. So right on the edge of being one of those top tier groups in the NFL, but not quite on that top level. And then our third tier, we have solid. So above average groups will be going in this tier. The ones that aren't quite approaching that elite status, but is definitely above the mid-level as far as pass catching groups go. And then we have our mid tier here on the 4th level. These are going to be our average, maybe slightly below average pass catching groups. And then at the bottom we have the unknown. So groups that maybe have 2, I don't think any have 3, but some have 2 rookies that we're going to be taking into consideration when doing these rankings. So with teams with a bunch of rookies, it's kind of hard to really put a proper rating on those kinds of groups. But I think we can go ahead and jump in now. So first we got the Las Vegas Raiders pass catching group here, featuring tight end Michael Mayer, wide receivers Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers, as well as rookie tight end Brock Bowers, who's coming into his first season. Pretty good group of pass catchers, I would say. I think the Brock Bowers selection was a little puzzling considering they already had Michael Mayer, but when I looked at the rest of their pass catchers on the roster, I mean, he's far and away better than any of the backup receivers on that team. And then Davante Adams, obviously, top tier wide receiver, probably still in the league. And Jacoby Myers is a really solid number 2 since coming over from New England and being able to actually play on a team with, I would say, some sort of quarterback, but honestly, they don't have much of a better quarterback situation than New England had when he was there. So, but he has shown to be a little bit more consistent than what they had in the past. So I would say they're probably on the cusp of being elite, but Davante Adams and the potential of Brock Bowers is carrying a lot of that load for me.
I would probably put them in solid as opposed to on the cusp.
Yeah.
Davante Adams, as good as he is, he's not getting any younger. He's gonna, I think he's gonna start to show his age here, in the next couple seasons. Brock Bowers, great selection. Michael Mayer, he had an okay rookie season. I think he only had 304 yards or something like that. So he showed he could catch, and I guess, that's better than some tight ends, but I think Brock Bowers will kind of show that he's the number 1 tight end this coming season, but I just don't know if they quite have the talent to be on the cusp for me.
That's probably fair.
I like the solid with them. To be completely honest, I'm only having him as solid simply because of Davante Adams' upside. I still think he's a top guy in the league without a doubt. Myers is a great number 2. He has 3 800-yard seasons under his belt in a row right now. There's just still a lot unknown with the tight end, so Adams alone for me is just the only reason they're solid.
Yeah, I'd probably jump in the gun a little bit with Mayer and Brock Bowers for sure. I expect them to hopefully have a system that those two are featured prominently and could both maybe flirt with 750, 800-yard seasons. Devontae Adams, I expect to hopefully reach 1,000, even with Gardner Minshew under center. And then Myers, I think, is another guy that, like you said, Joe, consistently gets 800, so he'll be right around that 750 mark. But you're probably right. Probably more of a solid level team.
Potential of the tight ends, though, I'm with you. That potential,
Yeah.
they have very high ceilings with those guys, but just gotta see what actually happens.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are right. I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit. Next, we got the Broncos, consisting of all wide receivers this time. Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, Cortland Sutton, and rookie Troy Franklin out of Oregon, who pairs up with his college quarterback, Bo Nix, over there in Denver. I'm probably going to put this on the mid-tier, largely because I don't know what we're going to get out of Troy Franklin. I expect the chemistry to carry over from Oregon, so I think he'll have a decent season. But Marvin Mims hasn't shown enough for me personally, and I think Josh Reynolds is more of a third receiver than a second receiver. So if he's their number 2 guy, then that's kind of an issue in my opinion. Cortland Sutton's good, but he can't carry a wide receiver group on his own. I think getting rid of Jerry Jeudy was a little premature, but he did have the big payday coming up, so I understand not wanting to pay him. But yeah, I think I got the Broncos in the mid-tier for me.
I think I got him as mid as well. And I think has the potential to be a really, really good receiver, but he's had mediocre garbage quarterback play most of his career in Denver. So, and I agree with everything you said about Mims and Reynolds too. So I think it's mid at best. They get to solid by the end of the year, but
yeah,
again, that's going to take a lot.
Franklin me to show out.
I just think it's kind of hard to judge them off of last year, given how kind of dysfunctional that offense was with everything going on between Wilson and Peyton. I think Marvin Mims could prove to be a solid number 2 at the very least. Troy Franklin, we all know how skilled he was there in Oregon, and I think he's going to bring that talent to the NFL. Cortland Sutton, obviously, probably their number 1 going into the season, and if he can stay healthy, he's a very reliable target there. They are very lacking in the tight end category, in my opinion. So that's something they need to look to replace. But I mean, I think they've got 3 solid receivers there, so I'd probably put them. If anything, I'd put them in unknown.
I think you could argue unknown because of the youth with Mims and Franklin. Reynolds, I think we kind of know what he is at this point of his career, though. He's a level 3 or a number 3 receiver for the most part. Sutton, if Mims can become a number 1 or Franklin can become a number 1, Sutton's an incredible number 2. But as him as the number 1, that's the main reason I have him in the mid tier for me.
I think arguably by the end of the season, Sutton might be the 3.
I think that depending on how Mims develops, I think that could happen for sure. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I think I'm kind of basing it off of what they have right now before we get to see Mims and Franklin hopefully develop. And I just haven't seen enough out of Mims personally yet. Probably more so because they haven't utilized him really at all. So no, actually, you know what? I think you swayed me. I think I will go unknown with them because of the youth with those 2 guys on top.
Same.
Yeah.
I agree. That Troy Franklin has a very high ceiling with the way he was drafted, but I think Mims is nice, but he's got to prove it.
Yeah, I think I'm taking too much into consideration his history without realizing the whole context behind why his stats aren't as good as they could be. Next, we have the Super Bowl defending champion, Kansas City Chiefs, with tight end Travis Kelce, wide receivers Hollywood Brown, new addition this year, and Rashee Rice, as well as rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy, who they took in the first round this season, or this past draft. Obviously, last season, Kelce was struggling to even pull the receiving core up to a solid before Rice kind of broke out. With both of them, they were probably solidly on the solid tier, I would say. Comfortably on the solid tier. With the additions of Hollywood and Xavier Worthy this offseason, I don't think they quite elevate them to on the cusp, although they're really close. Hollywood hasn't been consistent enough for me to feel comfortable, and Xavier Worthy's obviously a rookie. With Rashee Rice's suspension looming as well, we don't know how long he's going to be out. I think they're probably going to start the season off a little bit slow, and then maybe build up throughout the year to maybe break into that second tier of receiving groups. But I think right now I have them in solid.
Yeah, I don't know how close I would have them to on the cusp purely because of how, Travis, perennial 1,000-yard receiver, but he's like 34 now, so
Yeah,
he's
he's
not
old.
getting any younger. He's lost a step that, Chiefs fans can definitely see. Not the same runner with the ball in his hands that he used to be. Hollywood Brown's only had 1,000-yard receiving season, but I don't know that you can necessarily chalk that all up to him. Rashee Rice came on strong late in the season. Worthy, a rookie. Bring back McCole Hardman as well, who's, his career hasn't really panned out the way that Chiefs fans expected or hoped it would. But I think there's just a lot of unknown, a lot of youth with this other than Travis. So I'd probably put them probably not quite, towards the top of solid. I put them somewhere in the middle of solid.
Yeah, comfortably.
I got them. If it wasn't for Travis Kelce, they'd be on the cusp of mid, to be completely honest with you. Youth is a big one. I mean, Rashee Rice had 1 year. I think the biggest thing that's going to go against them is how many times and how many days are they going to spend in a jail cell? Because right now the Chiefs just seem to be rocking with the cops and just getting arrested. So if they make these guys ride a bike or walk to practice, stay out of the cars, I think there's a good chance that they're solid on the cusp. Kelsey's a big reason for that. Other than that, Xavier Worthy, we don't know if he's going to be McCole Hardman or John Ross, or if he's going to be Tyreek Hill. I'm trying hard not to grade this because with 15 at quarterback, I'd put anybody that's on that freaking receiving core on the cusp because of that guy. But nonetheless, I think they deserve solid. Hollywood's a decent guy, and Travis Kelce's Travis Kelce at the end of the day.
Worthy, big swing this offseason. I hope it pans out, because if it doesn't, then that receiving group's going to be probably about as bare as it was last year, outside of Hollywood being added. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Mahomes makes everybody better, so these guys could end up developing throughout the season. Hopefully they end up developing throughout the season and end up maybe graduating up to one of those top two tiers. But right now, they're definitely
As long
not.
as they can just catch a ball, they'll be on the cusp without a doubt. They just
Yeah.
gotta be able to catch it. Don't do what Kadarius did. Leave him out of it.
Right. Next, we got the Los Angeles Chargers, consisting of DJ Chark, Quentin Johnston, Joshua Palmer, and rookie receiver Ladd McConkey. Obviously parted ways this offseason with two major names in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So the Chargers are looking to rebuild that receiving core. These are the guys that they are beginning that rebuild with. Quentin Johnston was quite possibly the worst rookie receiver we've seen in years last season.
Not possibly. Absolutely was.
Yeah, could not catch a ball that was thrown in his area code at all, whatsoever. Joshua Palmer, solid little receiver, but I don't see him as more as a 3, maybe borderline 2 guy. So hopefully Ladd McConkey can develop this rookie year into a number 1 receiver, or Quentin Johnston can completely revitalize his image. But right now I've got this group in mid, because from what we've seen out of the 3 guys that are in the NFL already, DJ Chark, 3rd receiver, 2nd maybe at best. Joshua Palmer, same thing. Quentin Johnston can't catch a football. I think I have to put him in mid because of those 3 guys.
I'm going to go unknown, in my opinion. I like Palmer. I think he's a little bit better than maybe advertised, but again, I don't see him as a number 2. They have no clear number 1. Lad McConkey has as good of a chance as any of them to be the number 1 guy this year.
Yeah.
They did absolutely no help to Justin Herbert. I think they put everything on Justin Herbert's shoulders to be the guy and make them good. But what does it matter if Justin Herbert throws the ball 600 times if we have a guy that can't catch a ball? So I'm going with unknown for them until they can prove otherwise.
Man, I hope that Lad McConkey really shows out, because otherwise this could be a tough year for those Chargers fans. All 5 of them that show up to the games consistently. But yeah, they've got some moves to figure out there. At receiver, they need to get Herbert some help desperately. I think I'm at a mid.
Yeah, the 3 guys with NFL experience, I haven't seen enough from those 3 collectively to give me any sort of confidence in that group. Joshua Palmer's probably the best out of those 3 guys. And if he's your best receiver, that's not a good thing. So hopefully, like you guys said, Lad McConkey can come on and be a number 1 type of guy, because if he's not, then they could be in some trouble. And maybe we see some good old Michigan.
Quentin Johnston needs to make an astronomical leap for them this season.
Agreed.
Because what he did last year looks like an awful decision on their part.
Yep. Yeah, I think we could be in for some good old-fashioned Michigan Wolverine football this next year, where they run the shit out of it. So. Next we got the Indianapolis Colts, another team with no tight ends, but consists of receivers Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and rookie wideout Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, who they were able to scoop up in the second round. A lot of people thought he could have went first, so a little bit of a value pick there at the receiver position. But yeah, I think this group has all the potential in the world. It's just a matter of, can Anthony Richardson stay healthy to get them the football, but their individual skill sets, I think, are amazing. If you collectively, their individual skill sets collectively, which that's kind of a, that doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I think the 4 of them, their talent speaks for themselves for the most part. Alec Pierce probably being the worst one is pretty solid, because I think he's got potential to be a number 2 in this league. Josh Downs, I think, has potential to be a number 1. Adonai Mitchell, I think, has potential to be a number 1. We still have to, wait and see what he can do at the NFL level. And then Michael Pittman, of course, just got paid like he has that potential as well. So I think this group is great. But honestly, I think they're in the unknown tier. I don't think we know exactly what we can get out of this group yet, because their quarterback play has either been injured or unreliable throughout the majority of their careers so far. We haven't really gotten to see their full skill set, and so with 3 veterans on the roster, I still think, or out of this 4, I still think they're in the unknown tier.
I disagree. I think that they're probably at least as solid. So we're kind of trying to keep quarterback play out of it. That's
fair.
2 number 1, or arguably 3 number 1 quality receivers, including Adonai Mitchell, if he, shows as much promise as he did there at Texas. But 3, potential future number 1 receivers on one team. That's a pretty stacked room there, despite their youth. So I'd argue for solid.
I think I'm gonna go with solid. I'm gonna put a lot on Adonai Mitchell's shoulders. I personally had him above Xavier Worthy coming out of college. I was rooting for my Steelers to even take him. We'll get to talk about all that later, but Pittman, big body, he seems to just be consistent when he's on the field. So I think the potential, Pittman's the veteran in this room with 4 years under his belt. The rest of them are all young. So I like the unknown from you, Burke, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and go with solid for them. I think they're gonna take a huge step forward this year as an entire unit.
Yeah, and see, the main reason I put them on unknown is because I was trying to keep my own bias out of it. I really am a huge fan of this receiver group, and I was honestly thinking about even putting them on the cusp, but I felt like it was too early to do that. With, like you said, Joe, Michael Pittman having the most experience at 4 years, I felt like I could get away with putting them on unknown because this unit is so young. But I think it's fair to go ahead and put them on solid as well. I think they could be on the cusp by season's end, even. So next we have the Tennessee Titans, consisting of tight end Chig Okonkwo, wide receivers Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, and Calvin Ridley. Obviously, two of those guys getting added this offseason in Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley to a group that was a little underwhelming last season. I think the potential of this group is there. Obviously, Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd are both capable of going off for 1,000 yards any season. Tyler Boyd, I think, was looking for a little bit more opportunities this offseason and looking for a new team. Kind of interesting that he joined a group that had 2 Pro Bowl level receivers, just like the one he left. But nevertheless, I think he'll end up being pretty good for this team, all things considered. But I don't know if they're borderline solid mid. They're like right in between solid and mid for me right now, mainly because of D-Hop's age and his injury issues the last couple seasons. Calvin Ridley's been decent but inconsistent at times. Same with Tyler Boyd. And then I don't really know much about this Chig Okonkwo guy. So I think I'm gonna put them at the very top of the mid tier. But I could easily see them being in solid for sure because of the talent that these guys do possess when they're on the field.
I'm actually gonna go out. I'm gonna say they're on the cusp.
Really?
I think D-Hop's still a number 1. If you can even picture the fact that he's a possible number 2, I think he's the best number 2 in the league. Ridley, I think, is still a guy that can be there. Okonkwo, I think, is better than people realize. We're leaving quarterback play out of the picture. Tyler Boyd is an easy number 2, in my opinion. He just happened to be behind T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase. So I'd put them on the cusp.
I would argue on the cusp. If they can stay fully healthy all season, I don't believe that they can. Boyd, Hopkins, and Calvin Ridley, none of them are spring chickens. Yeah. They're all experienced veterans. So I just don't think that they're going to be able to stay healthy for a full season. So that's why I put them in solid.
Injuries does play a big risk, I agree. But talent on paper, those boys are as good as any group in the league, I think.
Yeah, and that's my thing, is like I think the talent for these guys is right up there with just about anybody, the 3 receivers specifically. But injury issues, age at the receiver position can sometimes catch up to you earlier than most. So, yeah, I've got some concerns about those, but I do think that, like you guys say, the talent's there, and they could end up being amongst one of the top receiving groups in the league, even with that talent alone. So, next we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, consisting of tight end Evan Ingram, wide receivers Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk, as well as rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU that they took in the first round this year. I think the addition of Gabe Davis, as well as the drafting of Brian Thomas, in a way elevates this group, but they did have Calvin Ridley last year, but 2 is better than 1. I think Brian Thomas could potentially become as good, if not better, than what Calvin Ridley provided for them, but I don't know if it'll be in his rookie year. Gabe Davis has some inconsistency issues, as well as Christian Kirk, I believe. So Evan Ingram's probably the most reliable target out of this group of 4, but he's one of the better tight ends in the league, so I think that's not a bad thing necessarily. I think I'm probably going to have this group in solid, just because Gabe Davis has a tendency to disappear in games. Christian Kirk is solid, but nothing too crazy. And then Brian Thomas Jr. being a rookie, you're not sure what you're going to get of him yet. So I think I've got him in the solid tier.
I think Ingram's probably one of the better receiving tight ends in the league. Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk, both of those are quality number 2 receivers, and I think Brian Thomas Jr. has a legit opportunity to be a star here. Going to a team that doesn't have, a standout number 1. They've got a young franchise guy that he can build some rapport and a career with. So I think these guys are solid. If not, yeah, we'll say solid.
Yeah, I had them borderline on the cusp.
A lot of upside, though.
Yeah.
And it's really hard when you can't, when we're trying to keep quarterback play out of it.
Right.
Because in order, I have him on mid or solid. I think I'm going to lean towards solid. Christian Kirk's at least consistent in the sense that he's a good number 2. He got paid number 1 money when they got there. A lot of it's on Brian Thomas's shoulders because I think Gabe Davis is a number 2, and I don't think he's the guy to take it. Evan Ingram has had decent years, but he had a lot of early injuries in his career, so it's whether or not he stays healthy. Simply off talent alone and what they possibly could do, I'll agree with you guys. I'll put him in solid for that.
Yeah, like you said, Aaron, though, they have a lot of upside. I think by the end of the season, they could find themselves on the cusp, possibly even elite, depending on how Gabe Davis plays. Next, we have I'm going to go ahead and say it, a team that I think is elite, or a group of pass catchers that I think is elite, and that's the Houston Texans. With the addition of Stephon Diggs, I think that kind of catapulted them up from that second tier of pass catching groups to that top tier of pass catching groups. Assuming that, was it Tank Dell who got hurt last year, I believe? Assuming Tank Dell can come back healthy, I think this group is amongst the best in the NFL. Dalton Schultz, in my opinion, is top 5 tight end, at least top 10 guaranteed. Tank Dell and Nico Collins, both great number 2s. I think Nico Collins could even be a number 1 in this league. Stephon Diggs, obviously, number 1 in this league. So, yeah, I think this is a clear-cut elite tier team, or pass-catching group.
I'm a ride with you on that. Just what Tank Dell and Nico Collins flashed last year. I know we got to keep quarterback play out of it, but just be considering Dell, Collins, and Stroud together as that core. And then you had a guy like Stephon Diggs. I know people talk about the off-the-field stuff, but Stephon Diggs he's that guy. He's still like that. And so I think adding a guy like him only elevates them. So I'd put him in elite with that for sure.
Yeah, I like elite. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, especially Nico Collins, really exploded onto the scene last year. Bring in Stephon Diggs in the offseason. We all know his caliber. Kind of had some questions at the end of last season. Is he the same sort of guy? So I think it'll be fun to see him in a new city, maybe revitalized, have a little bit of motivation on, maybe a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Then Dalton Schultz, who was, Dak's guy until Ferguson got there. Then he switched sides and cities there in Texas, but they've got a good young core down there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how. Well, excited's maybe not the right word as a Chiefs fan, but it's exciting for Texans fans. This group that they have down there.
Diggs had a down year last
Right.
year, and he still had 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that's wild to see that on the same field.
And Buffalo completely shifted their offensive game plan like the last 6 weeks of the season when Joe Brady took over, where they went to more of a balanced offense and threw the ball a little bit less. So I think that also contributes to Diggs' down year last year, where he probably could have had 13, maybe even 1,400 yards if they didn't change OCs halfway through the season. Next we got the Cincinnati Bengals, consisting of tight end Mike Gesicki, wide receivers T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, as well as rookie wide receiver Jermaine Burton. Obviously, losing Tyler Boyd kind of hurts this year. I tried to replace him by drafting Jermaine Burton. Also signed Mike Gesicki away from the Patriots, who had a pretty decent run down in Miami before signing with New England. And then, no one really succeeds in New England these days. So hats off to him for going through that turmoil. But yeah, I think with the loss of Boyd, probably drops this group down from the elite tier to on the cusp. Just because Jermaine Burton, obviously being a rookie, not sure what you're going to get out of him. Mike Gesicki's cool, but is he the same player that we saw down in Miami that one season with the gritty? I don't know. So yeah, I think I've got them on the cusp, just that second tier of pass catching groups. But if Jermaine Burton's anything close to what Tyler Boyd offered, they could easily move up to elite before season's end.
Yeah, I think a lot of this rides on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and granted that's saying something because
They're great.
Mike Gesicki, he's a decent tight end. Jermaine Burton, we don't really know, what he's gonna exactly bring, especially with these two dominant receivers in Chase and Higgins. So I would probably lean on the cusp, just because of those two, but. Gesicki and Burton, who knows what kind of impact they're going to have.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with on the cusp, much as I don't like to say it, considering they're a fellow AFC North team. Chase and Higgins alone are a problem. Gesicki being a third option is actually, I think that's a really good third option at tight end for them. He's not a run blocker. He's a pass catcher, which fits perfectly for them. And I think Burton might be actually pretty decent, but it's hard not to be decent when you have all eyes on Higgins and Jamar Chase. So those two alone at the top, I give them on the cusp just for that.
Yeah.
That's two potential 1,000-yard receivers.
Yeah, now if T. Higgins gets traded here soon, then that could obviously change things. But assuming T. Higgins is on the roster, the Bengals, one of the better pass catching groups in the league, but probably not quite on that elite tier anymore. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, Joe. Your team up there in Pennsylvania. Including tight end Pat Freiermuth, wide receivers Van Jefferson and George Pickens, as well as rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson out of Michigan, who obviously coming off national championship up there in yellow and maize and blue, whatever the heck their colors are. So yeah.
Yep.
So
don't call it yellow; they'll get pissed.
Yeah. Sorry, maize. My apologies. Maize and blue. But yeah, I think obviously losing Deontay Johnson this offseason, I don't think so. A major loss because I do think Roman Wilson can bring similar production, possibly even right out the gate, but definitely one day. Van Jefferson, I believe did you add him this offseason or was that last offseason?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just added him this year.
Yeah, so I think Van Jefferson could bring some consistency at the wide receiver 3 position because I do expect Roman Wilson to take up over the number 2 job at least early on in the year. George Pickens, I think with it's kind of been hampered by quarterback play. Obviously, we don't take quarterback play into it, so I'm kind of trying to separate the poor quarterback play the last couple of years and just focus on the potential that Pickens' ability provides. And I think Pickens could be a really solid number 1 in this league. Freiermuth, I think, could be a top 5 tight end as far as pass catching ability goes. So I think because of the unknown with Roman Wilson and then Van Jefferson coming in to provide a veteran presence, but has kind of, ever since the Super Bowl win, hasn't quite been the same. I think I'm going to put the Steelers in the solid category because I really like Pickens. I really like Freiermuth. I would just like to see a little bit more out of Jefferson, and hopefully Wilson can come on strong.
I'm going to ride with unknown on them, to be completely honest with you. Like you said, we're not taking this season, we're not taking quarterback play into it. It's on paper, it's an obvious astronomical leap up that we took this offseason at the quarterback position. But Pickens, I think, has the talent to absolutely be an elite wide receiver in this league. He makes catches that, you see his highlights. I don't even need to speak on it. People who don't watch the Steelers, I think Freiermuth's an easy top 5 guy with quarterback play, but Van Jefferson and Roman Wilson, there's a lot unknown there. We've seen what Van Jefferson can do with the Rams, but that was like one really, really good year. So I'm just gonna put it on unknown simply off the fact that the Steelers are a giant unknown as a team this year. But what could happen? There's a lot of potential. Who knows what actually lines up and what happens? I think unknown, but I think they have the potential to be an absolute solid team, if not on the cusp by the end of the year, depending on how it all plays out.
Hey, Burke, I'm struggling here because I really don't want to hurt Joe's feelings. Do I sugarcoat it, or do I tell the truth?
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Steelers fans don't sugarcoat. We take it for what it is.
I lean towards mid.
Oof.
Come on.
Oof. Wow.
I like George Pickens. I like Freiermuth. I don't know that they're necessarily the stars that kind of everyone hopes them to be. George Pickens obviously has flashes, but I don't know that he's got the consistency to be one of the NFL superstars. Van Jefferson's just kind of a non-factor in my opinion. And then, Roman Wilson, that Michigan offense didn't have to do, a whole lot. They rely a lot on their defense. Sure, he was a good receiver, but he's small. So I don't know where he necessarily kind of fits in this offense.
Slot.
I think there's a lot of unknown, especially with kind of the quarterback play we've seen so far, but I lean towards mid. Sorry, Joe.
That hurt my feelings,
I get
to be
your
honest.
point. I get your point, but damn, I thought we'd at least be we get mid. You're putting us with the Chargers? Who you, Aaron? That's an awful take.
That's rough, man.
Way better than Quentin Johnston. So come on, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can't say I agree with that at all. I'm more on Joe's side when it comes to Pickens and Freiermuth specifically. I think Freiermuth is incredible when it comes to catching the football. I think he's, like you said, Joe, I think with good quarterback play, he's easy top 5, personally. But yeah, we'll meet in the middle and put him in mid. I wasn't expecting
I understand. It's hard from trying to be non-biased, it's hard when you have a team who's going to be like a run-heavy team. Like, we really are reliant on the run game to consider the whole core, but we need a garbage category. We need to move that Chargers team, because no way we should be on that tier with those guys. That is awful. We need to fucking fix that shit. That is, oh man. That's the reason my feelings are hurt, is because you put us next to Josh Palmer, Quinn Johnston, Lad McConkey. Oh man.
No, you don't delete that.
Delete it? Oh god, really? Alright.
You can leave it. You can leave it. We're gonna look back on this video.
That stings.
They are clearly a better receiving core than the Chargers.
I'll be here.
Like, that hurt. That hurt me. That analysis hurt me. Man. All right. Next, we got the.
Man, we're gonna have some beef this season. All right, we're gonna have some beef to go over this year.
I hope I'm wrong.
I'm gonna watch every game. As soon as Roman Wilson goes 100 yards, I'm like, oh yeah, is that mid? Is that mid, Aaron?
Too small, huh? Too small?
You better not suck. Holy man.
Next, we got the Cleveland Browns, consisting of tight end David Njoku, wide receivers Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy, and Amari Cooper. When it comes to Jerry Jeudy, I do not have faith that he's going to reach the potential that he had coming out of college. I think he could maybe be a good number 2. I think right now he's a solid number 3 with number 2 tendencies. Elijah Moore's cool, but kind of the same thing there. I think he's a solid number 3. Njoku's great. Got a history of injuries, so that's a little bit concerning. But when he's on the field, he's really, really good. One of the most athletic tight ends in the league. and make some really explosive
Hey,
plays.
burning your face off isn't a football injury. I don't think that should count.
Well, you know, it still gets hurt. You know, he finds a way to get hurt, whether it's on the field or not. So, and then Amari Cooper, I mean, he's still a reliable set of hands out there on the receiver at the receiver position. So, I think he's cool. I think he's good. I think he's probably starting to age out of that number one receiver role, and probably is more of a number two these days, but still reliable nonetheless. But yeah, I think I've got the Browns in mid, but they could be solid if Judy comes on strong.
This is a tough one. Njoku, you know, when he's on the field, it's kind of hit or miss. I think a lot of it depends on
He's flashy.
you know, how the game's going. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. Judy, you know, it's tough because the Broncos have been so bad for so long that I don't know that you can necessarily, you know, fairly judge him. But he has, you know, he's not been the best. He's been in the league for several years, so. And then Elijah Moore, you know, he's a number two, you know, maybe number three, but I think Amari Cooper's still, you know, one of the elite route runners and a great pass catcher. I'd probably lean solid.
I don't know if I believe a thing this guy says anymore after the last projection he had. So whatever he says, we're just gonna go against it. In all honesty, I think Amari Cooper has to be the most underrated, non-talked about elite receiver.
That's what happens when you
The
go
guy
Cleveland.
puts up 1,000-yard seasons year after year with mediocre at best, borderline garbage quarterback play.
Derek Carr is trash.
But I mean, I want to put him as solid, and a lot of it is just because of Amari Cooper. All the other guys are a toss-up. I'm gonna go solid though, because I think Jerry Jeudy, I could see him being really good because it's a lot easier when you're not the guy that they're keying on. So everyone, first round draft pick, everybody was looking at him in Denver, regardless of what Courtland Sutton did. Where in Cleveland, all they're looking at is Amari Cooper. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put him as solid. Considering they're solid, the Steelers should be freaking elite. Considering that.
Yeah, see, that's my thing, is I just couldn't justify ranking them above the Steelers. Because I would rather have... I would rather have Cooper than Pickens, I think, but Freiermuth over Njoku, in my opinion. I don't know. Now that I'm kind of looking at it, maybe I'm kind of leaning more towards Aaron's side of the fence. Not gonna lie, Joe. I might start seeing his...
No, I'm being I'm trying to be unbiased,
Yeah.
but they overall, Judy and Elijah Moore have a lot more, at least what they've shown potential
Right.
than what the Steelers have.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it. I want to put them on mid simply off the fact that the Steelers are mid,
Yeah.
because I think our quarterback play is just as bad as Cleveland's, but we're
If-
leaving
if not
quarterbacks
worse.
out of it.
But,
It's
yeah.
100% worse. Not even close.
Yeah, I do think you guys are right. Amari Cooper's really good. I just think he's kind of getting to that age where he's going to start having to look at kind of probably taking a... Well, he's not going to want to take a back seat, but I think his talent might warrant him taking a back seat.
He's 29. Or he'll be 30 to start the year.
Is he that young? Jeez, it feels like he's been in the league for
Mhm.
15 years. Well, then never mind
he
then.
came in at he turned 21 during his first season.
That's
And
crazy.
he's had 1,000 yards, by the way, any year that he starts at least 15 games. If he starts 15 or more, he's guaranteed over 1,000 yards.
That's fine then, yeah. I mean, shoot, in my opinion, I'll probably move it up to solid then, because, yeah, you kind of changed my tune then. I didn't realize he was that young. It feels like he's been in the league forever. I remember back when he was in a Raider
100%.
uniform. So,
Exactly. Hey, Aaron, real quick before we keep this video moving,
yeah,
I don't hate what you said, but nonetheless, this is the one time.
Hey, I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so too, because if you're not, my gosh, I know we're gonna be freaking 3-13 or whatever it is.
Next we got the Baltimore Ravens consisting of tight end Mark Andrews, wide receivers Rashawn Bateman and Zay Flowers, as well as rookie wide receiver Devontae Walker. Losing OBJ this offseason obviously kind of hurts a little bit, but they did draft Devontae Walker, who was seen as not a bad receiver by any means, but probably wasn't going to be a first-round pick either, and he wasn't. So hopefully you can develop him. Rashawn Bateman, kind of been up and down, hasn't exactly been that number 2 guy that you were hoping he'd be when you drafted him. Zay Flowers has been incredible, in my opinion. Mark Andrews, obviously, one of the best tight ends in the league. I think both of those two carry it up to solid for me, but I'm going to need more out of Rashawn Bateman, and then hopefully Devontae Walker can finally be that second receiver they've been looking for, because I just don't see them being one of those top 2 level receiving groups right now.
I'm gonna go with this is a tough one. Rashad Bateman's big thing was injuries his first 2 years. I mean, he had a foot fracture coming into the league and stuff like that. If I'm going based off what Aaron did, they need to be mid, because they have Mark Andrews, good.
That's actually a really good comp.
Flowers, rest of them, complete question mark. What happens? Tez Walker, I do think he's solid. He's a good guy. His best college season was at Kentucky State, though, not at North Carolina. And North Carolina doesn't have a very good conference or tough schedule alone. But Mark Andrews is by far and away elite. He's better than whatever the Steelers got and anything like that. So the way they run the ball on that team, they don't need 2,000-yard receivers and 40 touchdowns through the air. So I'll give them a nice solid. I think it fits perfectly for what their system needs from those guys.
Well, I hope I don't piss Joe off. I think the Ravens' receiving core is elite. You know, Mark Andrews is one of the...
My gosh, are you serious right now? No. Who watches this podcast? Stop watching this. This is awful.
Please don't click off, though.
Oh my gosh, bro. Not really. We love your views, but oh my god.
That is wild. Wow. I thought I was crazy saying on the cusp at first. Okay, continue.
No, that was a joke. Yeah, I think I put them in mid. Zay Flowers obviously had a good rookie season last year. Mark Andrews, one of the better receiving tight ends, but just too much unknown in the Rashad Bateman, Tez Walker categories. If Zay Flowers takes that next step this coming season, I think they got a chance to be solid or maybe on the cusp. But with the argument I made with the Steelers, I think I kind of have to make the same argument for the Ravens and put them in mid.
Yeah, once Joe said that, I thought that was a perfect comp, because they've got like a solid number 1, but not quite elite level receiver in Zay Flowers, aka George Pickens for the Steelers. Tight end, in my opinion, Pat Freiermuth could be an elite level tight end. Mark Andrews is already an elite level tight end, so I think that's the only thing that kind of puts the Ravens above the Steelers for me, is I would probably trust Mark Andrews just slightly more than Pat Freiermuth, and I would have had the Steelers in solid. So that's why I had them up there.
You should. I think Zay Flowers too, a big thing about them too is like, as long as he's not another Hollywood Brown, and this is nothing against Hollywood, if Zay Flowers is exactly as advertised last year, there's no reason they shouldn't be anything below solid with just him and Mark Andrews alone.
Right, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So, and I think Bateman could still develop into at least a solid number 3. And then, man, yeah, Tez Walker's a complete
Bateman.
Unknown. I do not know what to expect out of Tez.
You had me, Aaron, with that.
Yeah, you fooled me.
Boy.
Next, we got the New York Jets. Oh, well, first of all, thank you to all who did not click off the video after Aaron's little cruel joke there. Jeez. Next, we got the New York Jets, consisting of tight end Tyler Conklin, wide receivers Xavier Gipson, Mike Williams, new addition, and Garrett Wilson. I mean, Garrett Wilson's pretty good. Mike Williams can be, but the dude never stays healthy, so I expect him to miss at least 9 games this upcoming year. Xavier Gibson's cool, probably better served as a number 3, so when Mike Williams is actually able to play a football game, that'll probably be beneficial having him at that spot. But yeah, I've got this group at mid. Garrett Wilson can't carry it. Mike Williams can't stay healthy. Garrett Wilson can't handle it on his own, can't carry it on his own. Mike Williams can't stay healthy. Tyler Conklin's average level tight end, maybe slightly above average. And then Gibson's whatever. So I've got him at mid.
Yeah, I've got him at mid too. I mean, Garrett Wilson's really the only shining bright spot in this. Mike Williams only plays well against the Chiefs.
That too.
Yeah, mid.
Do we at least think the Steelers are better than this receiving core as a whole?
I would have them at
mid?
the top of the mid tier
Yeah.
right now, yeah.
Aha! All right, that's a win for me. Yeah, I Garrett Wilson is great. I think he's a
Yes.
very good receiver, but you can't carry the load in the NFL. This isn't college football anymore. So I think I got the Jets at mid. Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson might go crazy, but Mike Williams, who knows when or if he plays. That's if he's on the field guaranteed at least 15 games, they jump up a little bit more.
I
but
agree.
We can't. We've never been able to rely on that. You guys know that as Chiefs fans. I know that as a former San Diego kid growing up. That guy just, mid.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Anytime I saw Mike Williams suit up across the sideline or across the field on the other sideline against the Chiefs, I knew we were in some trouble that day. Because that dude was going off for 150 and 2 tutties.
Especially the Chiefs. That guy goes crazy in KC. I don't know what it is.
That's the only reason I kind of wanted us to sign him. Was because then he wouldn't hurt us anymore. He couldn't hurt us anymore. Next we got the New England Patriots. Pretty young squad out there. Really going through a rebuilding phase. Consisting of tight end Hunter Henry, wide receivers KJ Osborne, new addition this year, Kendrick Bourne, and rookie wide receiver Jalen Polk out of Washington. So yeah, this group, I mean, I'm putting them in the unknown personally. I think Polk could be something special, but obviously in Washington he was kind of covered up by Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze, so he wasn't quite able to make as much of an impact at Washington as I think he could have. KJ Osborne's been an incredible number 4 option over in Minnesota. He's able to put 500 yards as a number 4 option, which is pretty solid, all things considered. I think he, with an expanded role in New England, could flourish as a Patriot. And then Kendrick Bourne is kind of the only carryover from last season that I have any confidence in as far as these Patriots receivers go. So I like those 3, but I just don't exactly know what we're going to get out of them yet. So I'm going to put them in unknown. Pretty young group still. So I think they've got some room to develop, and we'll get to see exactly what they're made out of this season.
I'm gonna go mid. I'm a fan of Kendrick Osborne. He's never had to be the guy. The injury last year plays a part in it. Hunter Henry, he's never been more than a solid tight end to me. I don't think he was ever elite or anything close. Jalen Polk's the only big question mark on this team. KJ Osborne, it helps when Justin Jefferson is on the other side of the field.
That's true.
Arguably the number 1 receiver in the league. So I'm gonna give them mid. It's not a knock to any of those guys because I could absolutely see them being a little bit better than that, but that's just as far as I got it so far.
Yeah, I think I'm with Joe at mid. Henry, he's just kind of your average run-of-the-mill tight end. I think they do have some potential there at receiver, but I think Jalen Polk could really be special. I mean, that Washington offense was something. You just had to watch those receivers to see how talented they were, and I think he could come in and start as the number 1 day 1 there in New England. But I think I have to start them at the season at mid.
I think that's fair. I'm really putting some weight into KJ Osborne, hopefully kind of growing with an expanded role in New England. And then I also expect Polk to come onto the scene pretty strong. So that's the only reason I had him in mid, is I see those two being big question marks. We're not quite sure what we can actually get from them because of their respective situations. So, but yeah, I think mid's also fair because Hunter Henry, average at best tight end. Kendrick Bourne hasn't really been a number one yet. So next we got the Dolphins, consisting of tight end Jonnu Smith, new addition this year, as well as OBJ, and other receivers Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who formed one of the best wide receiver duos in NFL history last season. So I expect those two to carry over. They probably alone put him in on the cusp, but then you also add the potential of OBJ, who, when he played last year for Baltimore, was pretty solid still. And then I think Jonnu Smith could also be like a borderline top 10 tight end in the league when he's, used as a number one, as not a number two like he was in Atlanta. So I think I've got this Dolphins squad at elite level.
Yeah, I've got him at elite as well. I mean, Tyreek and Jay, that combination alone puts them right up there with the best of the best. Then you throw in OBJ as a number 3 guy, and that's absolutely disgusting. Tight end being their probably least targeted position. You saw that with Gesicki and before he got shipped out there to New England. But yeah, this is a very talented receiving core, elite.
I'm gonna go with elite. Same everything you guys just said, just simply off the fact that those first two guys, Jalen Waddle has 3,000-yard receiving seasons since he's come into the league, and we know what Tyreek Hill is, and so I feel like that says enough. OBJ, say what you want about him, injuries, whatever, but as a number 3 option on the team, I think a lot of NFL teams want that guy on their roster as a number 3 option, so I see no reason for them to take a step back.
Yeah, they're going to get to a nice, new, shiny $60 million a year contract unless they pay him before season starts. So get ready, Miami, for that big payday. Next, we got the Buffalo Bills, who went through a lot of turnover in their pass-catching group this offseason, losing Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. Now, this group of 4 consists of tight end Dalton Kincaid, wide receivers Curtis Samuel, who was a new addition, as well as Khalil Shakir, coming off of his career best season, and then rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman, who they took at the beginning of the second round this past draft. Obviously, Keon Coleman's kind of an unknown. I expect him to be good, but you're not exactly sure what you're going to get out of him. Nobody in this group of 4 can replace what Stephon Diggs did, at least not this upcoming season, in my opinion. So I think I've got them. I think I've still got them on the. No, I think I'm gonna have to put him in solid. I'm not sure exactly if what Shakir showed at the end of last season was because, he had Stephon Diggs on the opposite side of him, or if it's because he's actually, a wide receiver 2 in the NFL. Curtis Samuel, at this point, we know exactly what we're going to get out of him. 750, 800 receiving yards, maybe 4 touchdowns. That's about it. So he's a good number 2, but definitely not a number 1. Keon Coleman, rookie, he's not a number 1 quite yet. Could be. He could be for all we know, but we're not sure. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be the most targeted guy out of this group. He could end up seeing 100, 120 receptions even. I expect him to go off for 1,200, maybe even 1,400 yards. But I don't think him alone is going to be able to carry this up to a top 2 tier pass receiving group. So I got him in solid.
I'm going to go with unknown for the Bills, to be honest with you. Shakir was the number 3 guy behind Gabe Davis at number 2. Curtis Samuel, not to go against anything you said, bro, but you said 750 to 800 yards. He's only cleared 700 yards once in his entire career. He was also the number 2 option behind Terry McLaurin, behind a team that trailed a lot. And so he's very streaky. When he's hot, that dude, he puts up great numbers. But Kincaid has the potential. They're still young and unknown. And Keon Coleman, In my honest, I'm a big fan of Keon Coleman. I think he's one of the better receivers in the draft, in my honest opinion. That might just be hype. That might just be me being a fan of watching the guy play. But I'm gonna put him at unknown because there's a lot of question marks with absolutely no clear number one as of right now.
I think I go towards solid. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be the next Travis Kelce.
I agree.
Maybe not up to his caliber, but he's going to be, that upper echelon tight end that just, is absolute nightmare to cover in the passing game. Curtis Samuel, he was solid, number 2 or number 3, depending how this, depth chart shakes out. Shakir, kind of, didn't really have anything his rookie season. Then last season kind of broke out of his shell a little bit, 600 yards, something like that. Then Keon Coleman, obviously the standout from Florida State. So I think you've got, at the very least, 2 solid receivers here. And then Shakir's still kind of the mystery. And then Kincaid, who I think is going to, if not this year, then next season, probably be considered one of the top 5 elite tight ends in the league. So I'd go solid.
I'm going to go out and predict it now. I expect Kincaid to lead the lead in receiving yards for tight ends next season. I really do. I think he showed enough promise the second half of this past season that with that group of receivers, Keon Coleman being a rookie and then those other 2 being probably seen more as wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2s at best, I expect Dalton Kincaid to rack in a lot of targets this season and become one of the best tight ends in the league. So I'm really high.
I'll tell you this, Aaron, we're going to be having a conversation throughout this season a whole lot because now that I'm looking at that solid category, it's starting to piss me off.
It's getting pretty full.
We got a bone to pick this entire year, but anyway.
This solid tier is getting pretty full. We might have to
Not
consider
everybody's
moving
solid, I'll tell you that much.
Next, we got the Washington Commanders, consisting of tight ends Zach Ertz, wide receivers Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, as well as rookie wide receiver Luke McCaffrey, who ESPN has listed as their number 3 wide receiver going into the season, which kind of surprised me, to be honest, being a later round pick and only playing receiver for, I think, like a year or 2 now in college after moving over from quarterback. So, yeah, with that being said, I mean, their first 2 receivers are pretty good. Terry McLaurin's probably borderline, elite level, but comfortably in the second tier, I think, as far as receivers go. Jahan Dotson's young, but has shown promise. Ertz is old and looks like he's kind of coming to the end of his career as far as production goes. And then McCaffrey's complete unknown. So I think I'm going to have to put him in mid. I don't know if McLaurin carries them quite enough to put him in the solid tier for me. Dotson, I'm still not quite 100% sold on. Would like to see a little bit more out of him. And then, yeah, with McCaffrey being your number 3 receiver coming straight out of college, transitioning over from quarterback to wide receiver within the last couple years, I don't feel super confident there. And then Zach Ertz can't stay healthy anymore. So I've got him in mid.
I think I have to go with mid as well. Terry McLaurin, as good as he is, I think there's still a lot of questions there at the other positions.
Yeah.
Luke McCaffrey, especially, having him come in and make him be your number 2 or number 3. I don't know that that's necessarily what you want as a Commanders fan. So I'm gonna go mid.
Yeah, you guys said everything that I was thinking. They got a mid. McLaurin is the only guy that's even keeping him in that tier.
Yeah. If there was a garbage tier, them and the Chargers would probably be as close as you get to it. So, I can't believe McCaffrey's going to end up being a number 3 receiver for them to start the season. That's kind of baffling to me because I always kind of saw him as a project. But
If
to
it
each
makes
their
you
own.
feel better, I know he played at Rice, but he had 900 yards and 13 touchdowns in last season
Yeah.
at Rice.
Yeah.
I don't know if that changes anything. I agree. He's a
Yeah.
big question mark as to what, that bloodline, though. It's hard
Yeah,
to deny
yeah.
what that bloodline got.
Is-
The
is-
dad was a dog.
Yep.
We know who CMC is, so enough said there.
Yeah, and I mean his combine, his athletic numbers look incredible. Like the dude's athletic as hell, but you expect that coming out of the McCaffrey bloodline. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Next, we got the New York Giants, consisting of tight end Daniel Bellinger, as well as wide receivers Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors, who coming out of LSU, coming off of one of the better seasons we've seen out of receivers at the college level. Yeah, I mean, Malik Neighbors has great potential, but you don't know exactly what you're going to get out of him yet. I'm sure he'll be number one, though, without a doubt on this team, because Darius Slayton's nearing the end of his rope. He was never really a number one, probably borderline number two at best even. Maybe in his heyday he was a comfortable number two, but I don't think he's there anymore. Wan'Dale Robinson hasn't shown enough. He needs to develop more. And then Daniel Bellinger's kind of whatever. I don't think we've really seen anything out of him to make us lose our minds. So I've got the Giants in mid. I don't see how this group is going to, even with the addition of Malik Neighbors, help Daniel Jones be better than what he is.
It's hard. I know we're trying to keep quarterback play out of this,
Yeah.
but it almost feels like regardless of who's out there, they're going to be mid. I think
Yeah.
Darius Slayton is a lot better than what he's been able to show. I mean, he's almost guaranteed 700 yards, but the guy's never had more than 50 receptions in a season. And I don't know if you can attribute that all to that, to just him not catching the ball. But I'm gonna put him at mid. If there was a garbage category, I'd put him there simply because of what quarterback play they're gonna get out of. But yeah, mid.
Joe, you're gonna hate this. I think you have to put him in solid.
You're kidding. Like, for real, you're kidding, right?
No.
Oh, this guy.
Darius
Yeah,
Slayton's a solid number two receiver, I think. Malik Neighbors could arguably win Rookie of the Year. And then you can't forget they also have Jalen Hyatt, who's an elite deep threat there in Tennessee, but he, I don't know if they've got the quarterback play to necessarily use him properly. But as far as talent and upside goes, they've got two really good young receivers, and then Darius Slayton is a solid number three. The only thing that's kind of weighing him down, I think, is their tight end play, which really sucks that they lose.
Oh yeah, they lost Darren Waller.
The best ever in the
best.
NFL, but I would lean solid.
I'm not gonna lie, that take's probably as bad as Darren Waller's song, but yeah, I don't know if I mean, I see what you're saying
We
with
got
Malik
real
Neighbors.
problems now, Aaron. We got real issues now. Oh my gosh.
I see what you're saying about Malik Neighbors. I think Darius Slayton's numbers are, which is saying something because of the quarterback play he's had.
751, played 13 games, 300.
I think they're
724,
inflated by.
last year.
I think they're inflated by being the only receiving option. Like, who else have they had to throw to the last couple of years? That's kind of my opinion. It's the same as Adam Thielen down in Carolina.
So if he goes, it's going to be even better.
I mean, but someone's got to get the ball thrown their way at the end of the day, And if Slayton's the only guy who can actually play football, then he's probably going to see most of
But
the
he's
targets.
not. I'm counting on Malik Neighbors and Jalen Hyatt as well.
Right, but I'm talking about his past numbers. It's kind of what I'm picturing. So, but no, I
You
mean,
make one good point bringing up Jalen Hyatt. I do like that point. But to put them in solid is abysmal. Aaron, I expect so much more of you. But after what you've been doing on this current video, I don't even fucking know who you are anymore.
Next, we got the Philadelphia Eagles, consisting of tight end Dallas Goedert, as well as wide receivers Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and rookie wide receiver Aeneas Smith. Right? Aeneas Smith. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to waste too much time. They're an elite. I mean, they got 2 top 10 receivers, in my opinion, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They've got a top 5, maybe, but definitely top 10 tight end in Dallas Goedert. So I don't even think the third guy matters. I think Aeneas Smith could develop into something cool. But, I mean, with those other 3 dudes, it doesn't matter. They're elite.
Elite.
Yeah,
We got the Dolphins in elite. They deserve to be there too.
Yeah. I mean, when you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, I mean, that's all you really got to say.
Yep.
So, sorry, Philly fans, for not talking about you longer, but, I mean, at least we put you at the top tier. Next, we got the Cowboys, consisting of tight end Jake Ferguson, as well as wide receivers Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's really, really good. Brandon Cooks, in my opinion, has always kind of been like a cool number 2. Like, he's a really good number 2. But probably would prefer him to be your number 3 nowadays. Jake Ferguson, pretty solid tight end. I think he may be sniffing top 10, but I don't think he's comfortably there by any means. And then Jalen Tolbert, I'd be honest, I don't really know a whole lot about him. But CeeDee Lamb's good enough, along with, I think, Brandon Cook's ability and Jake Ferguson's, reliability. I think I've got them on the cusp because CeeDee Lamb is one of the best receivers in the league.
I got we're leaving quarterback play out. It should be garbage considering they never win in the playoffs. Just kidding. That's nothing against the receivers. I got him in solid at best. I think Ferguson's solid, but Schultz proved he could be decent too in Dallas. Tolbert's a big question mark. And Brandon Cook, I do like Brandon Cooks. I think he's been one of the more underrated receivers over the past few years, but by no means elite. So I'll give him solid with CeeDee Lamb really carrying the brunt of that.
Yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb's one of the best receivers in the league. Up there arguably with Justin Jefferson, Jake Ferguson, solid tight end. Brandon Cooks, solid number 2. He's getting up there in age, so hopefully look to, maybe move him to 3. Jalen Tolbert really is kind of the unknown. Didn't do really anything his first year or last year, so I'd put him in solid. Again, carried heavily by CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I like CeeDee Lamb a lot, so that's probably the main reason I had him on the cusp. Like you said, Aaron, I think he might be the 3rd best receiver in the league behind Jettas and Tyreek Hill for me. So.
Wow.
Next, we got the Seattle Seahawks, consisting of tight end Noah Fant, as well as wide receivers Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and DK Metcalf. I mean, man, that wide receiver group, those 3 dudes alone are fucking menaces. Like, I love those 3 together. I think they're all incredible. Noah Fant, I think, is a really good pass catcher, which is all we're gauging him off of, Joe. We don't care about blocking right now. But, yeah, I think I've got, man...
Next week's video.
I think I've got the Seahawks about as close to elite without being an elite. I've got them comfortably on the cusp, but right on the brink of being an elite level pass catching group, in my opinion. So, on the cusp for me.
I think I lean towards on the cusp for the Seahawks. I mean, they've got 3 really good receivers and a decent tight end. do they have that, one guy that's an absolute star that elevates them to elite? I don't think so. But yeah, I'm right there with you, Burke. They're probably about as close to elite as you can get without being there.
And I'm gonna go on the cusp as well. To be completely honest, I think quarterback play is gonna be the only thing that keeps them from being elite.
Yeah.
You got three really talented guys. I think Tyler Lockett, who better to learn from for Jackson Smith and Jigba when it comes to just style of play and explosiveness than, so on the cusp.
Yeah, I think
Russell Wilson with those guys though would have been scary.
Yeah. I
think Smith and Jigba could get to be that, that superstar guy that elevates them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Him and DK Metcalf are a really good pair to have for the foreseeable future on that franchise. So I think they could see themselves being in like this Philadelphia Eagles territory really, really soon, with the two clear-cut top 10 receivers and then a really good tight end. So. Next, we got the Arizona Cardinals, consisting of tight end Trey McBride, as well as receivers Zay Jones, Michael Wilson, and rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. I like Trey McBride. I think he shows potential. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., best receiver, potential-wise, coming out of this draft. Zay Jones and Michael Wilson are kind of whatever. I think Zay Jones is a really good number 3, but he could be asked to do number 2 stuff this season. Kind of depends on what Michael Wilson can provide. I think I've got this group an unknown, just because Trey McBride's still really young. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a rookie. Michael Wilson's young as well. And then Zay Jones can't really stay healthy. So if he can stay on the field, I think that'd be huge. But I believe he missed like 9 games last year or something like that. So yeah, I've got the Cardinals in unknown.
I'm gonna go unknown. And a lot of it honestly has to deal with Marvin Harrison Jr. being the potential that he has, but we haven't seen him take a snap yet.
Yeah.
Other than that, I put him at mid. I think Trey McBride is really, but theirs is honestly, it's hard to say without knowing quarterback play and what that organization is going to put out there on the field. The only consistent thing they seem to put out is defense, specifically Buda Baker kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just, little side note. Trey McBride, really fun tight end to watch.
Yeah, he's great.
Kind of reminds me of Kittle, physical guy, great pass catcher. But yeah, I think we all know Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going to be an elite level talent. Whether or not that's right away, probably lean towards more likely right away, but still don't know. Other than that, I think you got a lot to be desired there in Arizona as far as receiver goes. I would probably lean towards. I'll lean towards unknown as well, just because they're so young.
Yeah, I think like you said, Aaron, I love Trey McBride. He's super fun to watch. I think he could develop into a top 5 tight end one day. Marvin Harrison Jr. could also hopefully develop into a top 5 receiver one day. So I think they've got the potential there. It's just waiting to see how that develops right now. So interesting that Zay Jones chose to sign with them, because it just seems like a complete opposite direction of where he should have went at this point in his career. But next we got the San Francisco 49ers, consisting of tight end George Kittle, as well as receivers Brandon Ayuk for now, and Deebo Samuel, along with rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, who very well could step into that number 2 position with this Brandon Ayuk drama coming up more and more often recently. So yeah, I'll save some time and just say elite right off the gate. Deebo Samuel, top 5 receiver. Brandon Ayuk last year was a top 3 receiver, it seemed at times. George Kittle, top 5 tight end, top 3 tight end probably, if we're being honest. And then Ricky Pearsall is exciting. I don't exactly know what they're going to get from him, but it doesn't really matter, assuming Ayuk plays for them this year. So I got him in elite. They're incredible. Probably the best pass catching group in the league, to be honest.
It's stupid. It's not fair.
Yeah.
I got one group that you could argue is good, if not better than them overall. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, it's when healthy. Health is the big question mark for that entire team.
Especially Debo.
When healthy, they're him and Kittle, dude. They're
Yeah.
Just go ahead, drop them up there in elite.
Yeah, elite.
No other comment?
No,
Oh, whoops.
just because they're gonna be in the Super Bowl again, and it's stupid.
Yeah, Chiefs Niners
Honestly,
Super Bowl.
you
Once
could-
more.
You can take Pearsall off of that list and put Christian McCaffrey if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah,
The way he
yeah.
catches the ball and makes plays.
Honestly.
Like it's unfair what they put on that field.
Well, I thought this is where I thought you were going with it, Joe, and I think I still agree with this point. You could take Ricky Pearsall off that list, just go with those three guys, and they'd still be an elite. So I don't think it fucking
100%.
matters who you put at the fourth
Yep.
spot. Next, we got the LA Rams, consisting of Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp. The only reason that Tyler Higbee missed the cut is because he's coming off of having his knee completely blown up like C4 this past season, so we're not exactly sure what we're going to get from him. So we went with these four receivers. Assuming Puka can pick up where he left off last season, they're definitely on the cusp. And I think the only reason I'm not going to put them in elite is because Cooper Kupp can't stay healthy and Puka Nacua has only played 1 year. So I have them in on the cusp, but they could easily move up throughout the season, I think, with this group.
Yeah, I'm gonna take people might be thinking I'm crazy for this. I'm gonna put him in elite. I'm putting a lot of faith in Puka Nacua. Maybe it's because he's Pauly and I'm just rooting for the guy. Cooper Kupp, again, it's kind of similar to what the Niners of just like health. If that guy's healthy, he's still as good as he was before, I think. So I'm gonna put him in elite personally.
No, who's the one with crazy takes now?
Don't even talk. Shut up.
Yeah, Puka Nacua obviously standout season last season. Arguably they're number one now. Cooper Kupp, if he stays healthy, he's good. I don't know that he can for a full season. Demarcus Robinson, he's a solid 3. Tutu Atwell, I don't know that we really know exactly what we can get out of him yet. Probably
Seems like
he
just
keeps
a deep
progressing to
threat.
be a number 2.
Yeah.
So I think this is just kind of overall a solid receiving core. I'd probably lean towards solid.
All right, meet in the middle and say on the cusp.
If I'm putting a lot on Tyler Higbee, if I got to be completely transparent
Yeah.
with it, I'm banking on Tyler Higbee when he comes back healthy. Him as a third option behind Nacua and Cooper Kupp, I feel like puts him.
Yeah, I think Nacua just needs 4, 5, 6 games for me. If he carries over anywhere close to what he did last season, I think they shoot up to elite for me personally. But with the injury concerns around Cooper Kupp and still the youth there around Nacua and Tutu Atwell, I'm just a little. Well, I want to see a little bit more before putting them up there in that upper echelon. Next, we got the Detroit Lions, consisting of tight end Sam Laporta, as well as wide receivers Khalif Raymond, Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, St. Brown and Laporta alone probably put them on the cusp. And I think I'm going to just leave them there on the cusp because I don't know enough about Khalif Raymond, and Jamison Williams has been pretty inconsistent so far. So I think, taking into consideration how good Amon-Ra St. Brown is, I think Sam Laporta could be a top 5 tight end in the league here soon, really soon, if he's not already. So yeah, I think I'm going to put the Lions in on the cusp. Just right outside of elite, probably behind the Seahawks, if I'm being honest.
Amon-Ra St. Brown up there with the best receivers in the league. Sam Laporta, I'd say up there with the best tight ends in the league. Kind kind of hampered later in the season there with a knee injury, but still came out and played. I think he only missed like 1 or 2 games. And then, yeah, Jamison Williams and Khalif Raymond, those guys, they haven't really shown a whole lot. Not to say that they won't, but I think Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown are so good that you put them on the cusp. They just need one more, one more guy.
Agreed. If Jamison Williams could step up this season, they could be elite by the end of the year.
I got him on the cusp. I was big on Jamison Williams had he not torn his knee at the end of his college career. Considering he would be your third option if last year was his first healthy year. So I'm gonna go on the cusp, because if that guy is anything like what his talent has shown in the past, there's no reason those guys don't take another jump up to elite after this year.
Yeah, I think like I said, if Jamison Williams can take that next step, I think they could. The three of Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jamison Williams could be really, really scary for opposing defenses. So, just need that third guy, like y'all said. Next, we got the Chicago Bears, consisting of tight end Cole Kmet, as well as wide receivers DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and rookie wideout Rome Odunze out of Washington, taken within the first 10 picks of the draft. Yeah, I mean, you can't really bring a rookie QB into a better situation than this nowadays, can you? I mean, you got 2 number 1s in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. You got a top 10 pick in Rome Odunze, who shows potential to be a number 1 in the NFL. You got, in my opinion, a top 10 tight end in Cole Kmet. I think the Bears are elite. Their receiving group, I think they're elite in Chicago.
I'm a follow that up. I go with elite. I think Keenan Allen is the most underrated receiver of the past, decade or so. He's done it with an average Chargers team. He's been the only consistent piece on that entire team for his entire career there. Kmet, considering he'd be the third option behind DJ Moore and him. I mean, it's a shame. It's all down to quarterback play for them, and shame on the Chicago Bears for never trying to put anything together behind Justin Fields, because who knows what that guy could have been in Chicago for them. Just simply on paper, the way those guys look, I'm putting them in elite. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen alone are perennial 1,000-yard receivers.
1,200-yard receivers.
Yeah, if we're being completely honest, for sure.
I think this could be the next 49ers team, get a rookie quarterback that you build around that's on the cheap. You get him a bunch of stacked receivers, and then figure out that defense, and this could be a real dangerous team here. Possibly this season. I agree with you. This is more than likely an elite receiving core. The only kind of question is, I mean, Cole Kmet, he's a good receiving tight end. I don't know if he's top 10. I'd probably top 15-ish for me. Keenan Allen, last 2 seasons hasn't played all 16 or 17 games, so you wonder if Father Time is catching up with him. I still think he's got some more gas in the tank, and this will be a fun receiving core to watch, especially with one of the best receivers, not only in the draft class, but in the last few years that we've seen come out of college in Rome Odunze.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see what the Chicago team can be this year. Obviously, a lot of people are kind of pooping on them, shitting on them. A lot of people are shitting on them, with mainly people that just don't like Caleb Williams, to be honest. But I mean, you look at these 4 pass catchers right here. I don't know if we've seen a rookie quarterback, definitely not a number 1 pick, walk into a better situation than this. Like, Caleb Williams is blessed to walk into this kind of situation. Let's be honest.
And you want to bring up Caleb walking into a great situation? Like, what receiver or top pick like Rome Odunze gets to walk in and sit behind or watch DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Who gets two Pro Bowl wide receivers, all pro receivers that to watch to start their career off like that? I think that's going to be severely underrated in his career if it pans out the way it looks like it can.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I really wish they would have shown any sort of semblance of this kind of commitment for Justin Fields, because who knows where he could be right now if they would have committed to him like they have Caleb Williams. But next we got the Green Bay Packers, no tight ends, even though Luke Musgrave is really good, but they've got 4 great young wide receivers in Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs. They're not there yet, obviously. They're really young. They still got a lot of room to grow. But I think this group's going to be elite one day. I probably already have them on the cusp. I mean, Christian Watson went from being a number 1 receiver to being like a number 3 last year with the additions of Reed and Dobbs and Wicks. So, I mean, like, you've got 4 incredibly young dudes with oodles of potential. Like, I mean,
Oodles,
I say. I've been in love with this Green Bay receiving core since probably week 8 of last year. So I've got them on the cusp already, but I could definitely see people needing to see more from them because they're so young. Because I think like 3 of them are rookies, or 2 of them are rookies, 1 of them's a sophomore last year. So
I think this is one of those teams where the stats are a bit deceiving. Nobody's necessarily got all of the yards or all the touchdowns. It's kind of spread out evenly, and I think that's just a credit to how well-rounded and solid this receiving core is. And yeah, I think they're, again, about as close as you can get to elite without being there. One more year of production like they had last year, and they could be the next, Legion of Zoom. With how good they are, because they're young and they could be together for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I want to simply put them at unknown, and that's simply off the fact that I don't know where I want to place them, because potential and talent-wise, I agree with you guys. I see no reason why these guys be elite as an entire core. 2 of the guys just played their sophomore seasons, so to consider they're all on rookie contracts. And then you have Jordan Love, who got his first full season as a starter last year. Like, just the way it looks after last season, like the sky is the limit for what this group has. I like Aaron's point about not one guy being the clear number 1 statistically, and I think that's just more of a credit to they don't have to pick a number 1. They don't have to target one guy, because if you want to double Dobbs, no problem. We got Christian Watson if he's healthy. You want to double Christian Watson? We got Jaden Reed right behind him. Like, it's as a core itself, like, I'm only putting him in unknown, and that's just simply off the fact that I just don't know where they'll go. They could be elite. I'm not mad if you want to put them on the cusp or solid already. It's just so much potential and so much to be excited about. If you're a Packers fan, you should be so geeked at what you got right now walking onto that field for the next couple years. Yeah, no, I love this. This is probably my favorite receiver group in the NFL right now because of the potential you have with those 4 guys. And then Luke Musgrave at tight end on top of that, who's also coming off of his rookie season, I believe. Like you said, guys, the sky's the limit for this squad, and I'm so excited to see what they can do in the future. But crazy, we left Luke Musgrave off this list. Yeah, isn't that crazy? 4 guys. Yeah, and that was just his rookie. Yeah, last year. Like, but what team has 5 guys, I should say 5, all on rookie contracts that look like they can be as good as they all are already? Yeah, that's exciting. With Jordan Love on top of it, like, yeah, the Packers are they're set up beautifully. Next, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Elite, but they've got TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and Brandon Powell. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're elite.
I don't think I really have to speak too much on it. Justin Jefferson, best receiver in the league. T.J. Hawkinson, top 5 tight end, no doubt. And then Jordan Addison, arguably the best second receiver in the league, probably third or fourth behind like Brandon Ayuk and some other guys. But yeah, I mean, this receiver group's incredible. It's a shame that they're going to have to deal with at least some Sam Darnold under center for them because, yeah, I think they're amongst, if not the best pass catching group in the league right now. So I've got them elite.
I got him elite. You have a guy like Justin Jefferson alone, and that puts you in elite. But I mean, I think people underplay what Jordan did last year, and that was with Justin Jefferson hurt. Justin Jefferson, he's the guy you key on, right? There's hands down, that's the guy you're doubling. And Jordan Addison did what he did last year, and now you have to deal with both of them on the field with Hawkins. Like, I don't know. I had just Jordan Addison even higher than he was drafted, and he was drafted at 23rd overall in the first round. And I still had him higher up the boards than other receivers, and so they're the one team I think it don't matter who's throwing that damn football. Those guys are going to put up yards, and they're going to score some fucking points without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought that the Lions were crazy for trading T.J. Hawkinson, and they were, but they got a good guy in Laporta, and Hawkinson's obviously a dog there in Minnesota. And then you throw in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. They're, one, decent receiver away from maybe being one of the best receiving groups of all time. So, yeah, they're elite.
Yeah, same as what we said with the Niners earlier. You only need those three guys. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson to put him in a lead. Brandon Powell's whatever. We haven't even talked about him because it doesn't matter. You have those three dudes. Already one of the best pass-catching groups in the league. So, next we got the Atlanta Falcons with tight end Kyle Pitts, as well as wide receivers Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney, both being added this offseason. And other wide receiver Drake London, who hasn't quite lived up to the potential, probably mostly due to quarterback play. And with that being considered, I want to put them in elite, but they just haven't shown quite enough yet. Granted, I think a lot of that's due to quarterback play, but I need to also kind of take their statistics into account as well. I think Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney are both pretty good number twos, so having both of them on your team as like a number 2 and a number 3, I think is pretty solid. Drake London, I think, has tons of potential. Haven't really gotten to see the full extent of that yet. And then same with Kyle Pitts. So I think I've got them on the cusp. But I mean, if Kirk Cousins, can come in and elevate this receiving core, I think they could be elite before season's end. So if we're not taking quarterbacks into account, still got to kind of factor in the statistics. Their statistics individually haven't been anything eye-popping, so I've got them in on the cusp.
Oh boy. I got them a mid.
Wow. Really?
I don't know what faith you have in Mooney or Moore, but I guess I got significantly less because, I think they're 2 number 3 receivers. Kyle Pitts and Drake London obviously haven't done a whole lot. Whether or not that's their fault, that's up for debate. I think Drake London could be good. Kyle Pitts could be like Jimmy Graham-esque, I think. But I just think that there's a massive drop off from their 1 to their 2 and 3. So I think I've got them at mid.
I'm gonna go with solid for them. I'm a fan of what that team has. We're trying to keep quarterback play out of it, but considering who they brought in with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, it's hard not to have a little faith. I think Drake London's an absolute dog. He reminds me of Michael Pittman. Both are from USC, and as a USC fan, I got to watch it. So it's a lot. It has to come down to how they game plan and how they can make things happen with him and Kyle Pitts, but I agree. I do agree with Aaron. I do think there's quite a bit of a drop off between London and Pitts, and then the other two.
Yeah, I think Mooney's stats are a little bit skewed these last couple of years. I think there's a little bit of the statistics for Mooney have been a little bit skewed from the injury in 2022 and then the addition of DJ Moore in 2023. I think Mooney could be a number 2 receiver at the NFL. I mean, you look back at his 2021 numbers, he had 1,000 yards receiving and I believe 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, I think Mooney's pretty solid. Rondale Moore's probably going to be your number 3. And then I'm really high on Kyle Pitts, always have been. I just don't think he's had the right quarterback. So, yeah.
That's a good point with Mooney.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. I mean, Mooney, he was, considering he's on the Falcons, I think he'll be their number 3 guy behind Pitts and London. But I also think Rondale Moore and him alone, they just provide a different explosiveness to that offense that they didn't have. And they're also a team that runs the ball, or in the past ran the ball a whole lot. So, I mean, I'm kind of with you a little bit with Mooney. I think he's a little bit, of a sleeper guy.
I think Mooney's better than people give him credit for. But, yeah, I can see solid, or I don't know if I can see mid-tier, but I can see solid tier for sure. Next we have the Panthers. 3 of these 4 guys are completely new to this organization, 2 of them being rookies in Jatavion Sanders, tight end out of Texas, and Xavier Leggett, wide receiver out of South Carolina. Another new addition, getting Deontay Johnson in a trade with the Steelers early this offseason. And then bringing back leading receiver from last year, Adam Thielen, who, in my opinion, only had 1,000 yards last season because he was the only dude on the roster. I'll put this group in unknown. They have 2 rookies, obviously, out of these 4, so I think that's kind of got to be a big consideration. And then Deontay Johnson, if he can stay healthy, he's really good, but that's kind of been the name of the game with him these last few seasons is, can he stay on the field? So I've got them in unknown. I would hope that Adam Thielen's their number 3 receiver by season's end, if not sooner.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put him at mid for now. There's just so much of it is based on potential. I think as a Steelers fan with Deontay, I thought he was always slept on. It's hard when you have Big Ben on the end of his career and then follow it up with garbage, horrible, terrible, awful, abysmal quarterback play after him. But I don't think it's enough to where you can feel like the potential is enough to move them up at all. 2 rookie guys on the team at tight end and Leggett at receiver. It's a lot to put on their shoulders to expect more. I'll put them on mid for now. I think Thielen and Deontay though they are really good receivers and underrated, but it's hard to move them up anywhere else.
Yeah, Thielen used to be a really good receiver. I don't think he's just lost 1 step. I think he's lost like 3. Deontay Johnson, he's a solid number 2 receiver. So then I think you're hoping that Leggett comes in and is your number 1, which is asking a lot. Especially of a guy that came out of South Carolina who didn't have, he was a standout and he moves and plays a lot like Deebo Samuel. You just want to get the ball in his hands, but that's asking a lot from a rookie that's coming into this situation that the Panthers are in, almost rebuilding their franchise. So I think I have to put him in mid as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm purely going off the potential of this tight end wide receiver duo in Jatavion Sanders and Xavier Leggett. I think they could both develop into something really special individually. I thought Jatavion Sanders was the second best tight end in this class behind Brock Bowers, and Xavier Leggett I saw as a late first round pick, which he ended up being. So in my opinion, I think both of those 2 guys can develop into something special. Deontay Johnson, if he stays healthy as well. So that's the main reason I had him in unknown. But if y'all both have him in mid, that's where we'll put him.
I like the Jatavion Sanders take that you have. I agree that he's a dog, but my only question mark, if I had to put one, is like the fact that he had teams had to worry about Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy
Yeah.
on the same field as them, so it's really
True.
easy to leave him there.
That's true.
But I'm not discrediting any of the potential you have with him and Leggett, because what the potential of what they showed on the field when they had the ball it's up there.
Yeah.
For unknown. I think Thielen and Deontay are kind of capped. Either of them ever proved to be the number one guy. Deontay had, he had who he had at quarterback and around him, and then Thielen always had another guy. He had Diggs to start, and then, it's not, shame for him for having Justin Jefferson come right after that. Potential to move up. I'm not against you on that. They do have real potential to really move up for me.
Next, we got the New Orleans Saints, consisting of tight end Juwan Johnson, as well as wide receiver Cedric Wilson, new addition this offseason, Rashid Shaheed, and Chris Olave. I'm going to have to put them in mid. I mean, they're probably... Chris Olave obviously is doing a lot of the load carrying here with this group. Juwan Johnson's average tight end. I think Rashid Shaheed's really just a deep threat that's being forced into a number 2 role with Michael Thomas, basically disintegrating into dust. Cedric Wilson's whatever. So I've got to put this group in mid, although I do think Olave is incredible. But I don't think he alone can carry this squad ahead of, some of those teams like the Steelers we see in this fourth tier here.
Yeah, I think Olave, a legit 1. I think Rashid Shaheed, a legit 2. And then I think you just kind of fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
So I think, they're probably a decent tight end away from being, solid. But yeah, I think I have him in mid.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow it up. Shout out Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, 2 guys from San Diego. As a fellow San Diegan, rooting for the best for y'all, but outside of Olave and then even Shaheed being a number 2, it's just a major fall off.
Yeah, I think Shaheed has, potential to be a number 2. I think from what we've seen from him so far, he's been more of a deep threat, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with a more prominent role this next year.
He had 488 his first year and 719 last year.
Yeah, no, he's progressively getting better for sure. With Michael Thomas being off the roster, I expect him to see more targets this season, even though Michael Thomas hasn't really played at all the last 2 years. And then finally, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, consisting of tight end Cade Otton, as well as receivers Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, along with rookie wide receiver Jalen McMillan. I've probably got this group in elite. It's on the edge of on the cusp, but I think they just cracked the elite tier for me. I'm big on Jalen McMillan, and then I think Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are one of the best receiving duos in the league. Probably top 5 as far as, receiving duos go. So yeah, I've got the Bucs in elite. I think Cade Otton's got loads of potential as well. Could be a top 10 tight end this year. Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else to say about them.
I'm gonna put him in elite with you. Mike Evans, I think, is not talked about enough. He has 10 years in the NFL. He has 10 1,000-yard seasons. Like, it's what he does, and that's with Tom Brady, that's with Baker Mayfield, that's with Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
That's with anywhere from garbage quarterback play to all pro level type offenses. Godwin is arguably a number 1 at any other place if he's not behind Mike Evans. McMillan, I think, is underrated. He's coming out of a heavy UW class from what they came last year. He had 1,000 yards 2 seasons ago. It's just hard when you have Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk and those guys coming up too. So I put him in elite. Also was injured, yep. And so, like, I'd put them an elite simply with Godwin and Evans, and then you add what else they have on the team. I think they should be an elite category.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. And I think it'll be fun to watch Jalen McMillan step into this. We're talking about Rome Dunze, who gets to step into, you know, a room and sit behind, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Well, he gets to come in and sit behind Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Two guys who you can almost chalk up to 1,000 yards receiving. So that to watch his development, that'll be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I expect this squad to kind of pick up where they left off last year. Obviously, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both had pretty good seasons when they were on the field last season. I think Godwin had injury last year, if I'm not mistaken, but Evans, another 1,000-yard seasons, like you said, Joe. Godwin, number one receiver on probably at least half the other teams in the NFL. It's going to be fun.
Godwin played all 17 games, by the way.
Oh, well, shit. When did he miss games? Was it 2022?
Every other season until 2017, 2018.
So, okay. Yeah, so he's had injury issues. I wasn't wrong on that.
Yes.
But yeah, you got those two guys. You got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Jalen McMillan, I think, can develop into a number one day. I don't know if it'll be within the next 3 seasons with those two dudes in front of him, obviously. But I think one day when Evans eventually retires, Godwin either ages out of the wide receiver 1 position or moves on to another team. I expect McMillan to step right up into that spot. I'm huge on K-Dot. I think K-Dot could be really, really good in the league. So, yeah, I'm really high on that Bucs pass catching group. So here we have our final tier list. Right here at the elite level, we have kind of, the best pass catching groups in the NFL you see these days. Second tier, we have on the cusp of being elite. Some guys that maybe have, some groups that may have just fallen off the elite tier this offseason. Some groups that may have, graduated up from the solid tier, maybe flirting with that elite tier. Solid, we kind of have, majority. We have more teams in the solid tier than any other tier because, that's just typically how it goes in the NFL. You got a lot of teams that are just kind of right around the median. Then you got the anomalies at the top, the anomalies at the bottom. But solid's where you kind of see the majority of your average, slightly above average level receiving groups. Mids where you start seeing the average, slightly below average receiving groups right here. And then the unknown, obviously, we only had 2 teams down here, but these are kind of the groups that we think really haven't shown us enough to properly rank them yet in the Broncos and Cardinals with having such young receivers and tight ends at their respective positions. But what do you guys think? Are you guys pretty happy with our tier list here? Outside of the Steelers, Joe, is there any teams you might move up, move down?
I think we did a decent job. We made this list based on trying to leave out quarterback play from it because there's a lot of teams that with great quarterback play could easily jump, if not drop, multiple spots. I think we were decently fair outside of Aaron just deciding to take the fattest dump ever on the Steelers over here. But
hey, blame Burke.
Yeah.
I asked him if I should sugarcoat it, so you blame Burke.
I'm good. I prefer the realness, but nonetheless, I disagree.
Alright, well, unless y'all got anything
Take
else.
Travis Kelce off that Chiefs team, and there's no way they should be in that category.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no. There'd be a whole new there'd be a whole new tier called
looking
garbage.
like, man, you take a Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest tight end ever off of that, and we're golden, but life
Well,
ain't fair. It's all good.
Unless you got anything else, guys. I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circleberg-Burkle. Here with the host today, Aaron and Joe. Go ahead and say bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, please make sure to leave a comment down below if you disagree with any of our opinions. Make sure to like and subscribe if you made it this far as well and you haven't already. But
Yeah, I'll leave a comment. Don't worry.
other than that, deuces, and have a good day.